Well, I'm feeling very good for them, but challenged to make sure that we turn this moment into a real change in terms of policy and law. I did the eulogy at both of George's funerals, and I'm doing Dante's. I did Eric Garner's funeral. And more importantly, we in National Action Network and other groups kept marching and kept going. And then we saw groups just rise up on their own all over the world. And I think today we won a round, but the fight is not over. We must pass the George Floyd federal bill, so we will not have to do it state by state. There's a win in Minnesota tonight, but the law hasn't changed, and there's no federal law. And if we are to really have change, we must change the laws of policing, not anti-police. The policemen that testified at this trial showed that policemen are understanding that bad police must be subject to the law, not above the law.
What do you think, Rev, the prospects are for passing that law? I was struck today to hear you talk about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, to hear Attorney General Ellison, Minnesota, talk about it in his remarks, to hear Vice President Harris from the White House talk about not only her support for that law, but its necessity and the fact that she had a hand in writing it when she was in the United States Senate. We heard the president himself jump in with both feet hard, saying that that needs to happen, that must pass. To take all this emotion in this, what feels like momentum, what feels like a moment today in this country, and to push hard that is the right next step, made me feel different about the prospect of that passing today than I did before. I know you're a student of politics as much as you are of anything else. Do you feel like the political reality is that it could pass?
I do, because I think reality has to adjust to new realities. And there's a new reality tonight. People feel that this can happen, and people are going to, in my opinion, continue now to pressure the Senate. I remember you said I'm a student. When I was a kid just joining the movement in the North, people didn't feel you could get a Voting Rights Act. President Lyndon Johnson told Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that we just got the Civil Rights Act. We can't go back to the Senate and the Congress and get the Voting Rights Act. And Dr. King told his assistants, well, we'll just have to go back south in March and make it possible for it to happen. And it did the next year, the 65 Voting Rights Act. When you have a movement of all kinds of people, intergenerational, interracial, it changes the political climate that the Senate and others have to operate. And that climate changed. I remember, Rachel, last August, Martin Luther King III and I called a march around the George Floyd bill and the John Lewis bill in Washington in the middle of the pandemic, the height of the pandemic. Over 200,000 people came, and a third of them white. And when we saw that crowd, when we saw the makeup of that crowd, intergenerational, interracial, and it was happening all over the world, we knew the possibility was there, like it was in the 60s, the generation ahead of us, to really make change. But if it's not legislative change, it will only be temporary.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.